Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Joel Embiid made some interesting comments about Ben Simmons after their victory in Cleveland. Now, he was asked about this. It wasn't as if he walked up to the podium and started bashing Ben Simmons. But when I saw the headline of, "For us to win, we are going to need to shoot," I was very intrigued on hearing the tone, seeing his facial expression, hearing everything he had to say, because we all know in today's era of journalism, things can get thrown out there and headlines can be very deceiving. I was very fascinated to hear exactly what went down. Before I play the clip for you, do not forget about the promo code BROADS that you can use at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off of your total purchase. So you get to go to a game, you get to experience a wonderful time, and you get to save money, which you can use on parking, beer, food, whatever you may like. It's a no-brainer. Use the promo code BROADS today. All right, so let's listen to Joel Embiid post-game in the locker room.
Do you guys ever encourage him to shoot more? Now that, he's so good at passing, he can get anybody involved, but do you guys ever encourage him to shoot and score more for himself?
Yeah, of course, everybody does. We've been encouraging him, since he's been here, but that's him. He's comfortable playing certain ways. For us to win, we're going to need him, to shoot. But, I'm fine with him just playing his game, not forcing anything. But hopefully at some point, I'm sure he's going to pick it up. But, he's fine. He's doing great. He's doing a great job of being a point guard, not forcing anything. I'm fine letting him grow into himself and not force anything. I know a lot of people want him to shoot, but if he's not comfortable, he shouldn't do it. So we got a lot of scores on the team, so we're gonna figure it out.
A couple more guys. Bench has been coming together.
Okay. Before I actually listened and I saw the headline, I figured Joel Embiid was just saying something with his funny personality, and not saying that this is a laughing matter or something to joke about. When I first saw the headline, I figured it would be some sort of encouragement from Joel Embiid, trying to maybe spark Ben Simmons, but in this friendly way. In the middle of it, so that was before I listened. Once I started listening and I was in the middle of it, I realized this is Joel Embiid being 100% honest and very frustrated with Ben Simmons. It's that simple. Joel Embiid is frustrated. For us to win, we are going to need him to shoot. And then he mentions how hopefully he will eventually do it. Like, he understands how the spacing is so messed up because Ben will not let it fly. It doesn't need to be from three, all right? That narrative needs to go away. You're not going to get Ben Simmons just knocking down consistent threes out of nowhere. But the fact that he dribbles up the floor and he will not even look at the basket, his mindset the entire time is, I'm going to find someone else. I'm going to pick up my dribble. I'm going to make a pass. And he is very good at making these unbelievable passes. He's an elite passer. He is a very good facilitator. But the fact that he will not even put his eyes on the basket at any point, that is a serious problem. And Joel Embiid is being affected by this. Everyone wants to scream about him getting in the low block, but it's common sense that the spacing is an issue, and that is affecting Joel Embiid's space to do some work in the post as well. Ben has been in the league for 3 years now. So many teams have tape. They've watched what the Boston Celtics did in the playoffs. There's so much tape on Ben Simmons and how to defend him. I think Joel is frustrated because with all of the talk Ben Simmons did this offseason, nothing, and I mean nothing, has changed. Now, I want to make this clear, and sadly, I have to mention this every time I talk about Ben Simmons, which is a lot because he is a very controversial athlete in this city. That doesn't mean trade him. That doesn't mean get rid of him. That doesn't mean he will never, ever, ever, ever work in this league at the age of 23. I think his ceiling is too high. But I am starting to think maybe we need to find a way to utilize him in other ways. The thing is, if you take the ball out of his hands, you lose what he is so great at. And you can't put him at the 4 because you didn't pay Al Horford all that money to sit on the bench and be a backup to Joel Embiid. And if you switch Josh Richardson and him, so Josh Richardson is the true point guard, the only spot for Ben to play is the 2, and that doesn't make sense. I know it's positionless basketball, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't change enough. He can't play guard. If anything, he needs to be a 4, but it won't work with the roster construction that we have right now. But I'm starting to think, what would a different look be like for Ben Simmons? Will that change something? Or will the fact that Ben hears his own team saying, hopefully he will shoot because we need it to win, will that click in his head that it needs to happen? I am extremely frustrated and disappointed in Ben Simmons, but I don't think his career is totally over. A couple of quotes that stood out to me in this, we have been encouraging him since he's been here, but that's him. We all know he's stubborn. We all have experienced some of his responses to the media when he gets asked and abused about the shooting and whatnot. He comes off with this arrogance, and I've actually had a discussion with one of my friends at 97.3 ESPN on the air. He doesn't like Ben Simmons because of the smugness. Well, my argument to that is it's basketball. You need that confidence. You need that smugness. Some players thrive with that. I'm better than you. I'm going to destroy you. Now, here's the thing. Ben says all that in tone. I'm not saying he says that out loud to the media, but in tone, he has that smugness, and then he doesn't back it up on the floor at times. There are games where he drops 32, 12, and 12, and I'm so pumped, but it's not consistent enough. So he has that smugness, and he doesn't back it up enough. So that's where the difference is. When LeBron has it, when James Harden has it, when all these other players have that cockiness, and they go out and back it up, well, that's the difference. I think it's okay to have that smugness in basketball, to think you are the best, but you do need to back it up on more of a consistent basis, and that's where the difference is with Ben Simmons. So Ben Simmons is actually having a bad year statistically, based off of what we have seen throughout his short NBA career. 13.7 points per game, 7.1 assists, 6 rebounds. It has to come down to the fact that people understand. Now that there's so much tape on him, it's so easy to shut him down. And he's not doing anything about it. Later in the comments, I felt as if Joel Embiid was backtracking, realizing, am I being a little too harsh? Let me back this up a bit. So he ends with saying, but if he's not comfortable doing it, he shouldn't do it. We have enough shooters to score, and that's just false. Ben is going to need to figure it out. And that's one thing that I find interesting about the whole Brett Brown debate. And I've been very harsh on Brett this season compared to how I've been in the past. This is where I'm intrigued. If a new coach comes in and Ben Simmons is not willing to shoot, I think fans will then realize the issue is so much about Ben not shooting. And I love the kid, I do. He has this natural talent, this physical dominance. But that flaw is really costing the team. So how much can you do with a point guard who is unwilling to ever take a 10-foot jumper? I always support him, yet he always frustrates me, and he's very conversational. He's a athlete. He's an athlete that sparks a ton of debate. My thing is, I can't imagine having that type of skill set, hearing year after year that he can't shoot, after hearing his teammates now call him out in the media, essentially, not specifically screaming at him, but you hear the words, and they're real words. I can't imagine thinking, I'm still not going to do it, ever. I'm still not going to do it, ever. He has worked on it. It's obvious he has worked on it. You see him a million times knock down these shots with no one on the floor, and he has put in so much work to shoot in practice, and I think he has dedicated his offseason to practicing that jumper. But it's not clicking in games, and Brett can help with that. Brett can dial up some plays where he has space for a 10-footer, a 12-footer, a 14-footer, and Ben is going to have to shoot the basketball. He's going to have to go up and face the basket and take the jump shot. He's got to figure it out. Both of them together. But to continue to go through this, it will not work. It will not be effective long term. Things have to be addressed. If Elton Brand needs to get in the mix, I have faith in Elton Brand. Elton Brand has shown that he has balls. He's not afraid to make big-time trades. He's not afraid to let people go. He's not afraid to make splashes. I think Elton Brand understands what's going on here. And also, that goes with the head coach as well. I believe Elton Brand, if needed, will let go of Brett Brown. He's not afraid. He's not soft. If he believes it's the best thing for the organization, he will absolutely do it. As for now, he's giving Brett some time to figure this thing out. But when it comes to Ben Simmons specifically, I think Elton Brand would step in. Elton's sitting in his office. Ben, come on in. We have to have a conversation. He will have structure with this conversation. He will have examples. Ben, you need to do this. If we want to get to the next level, you are going to need to do this. Now, I mentioned Elton Brand having some balls. Trading Ben Simmons, I don't think is in that category, and nor should it be. There's a reason why the Sixers signed him to that big contract. There's a reason why they believe in him. And I don't believe it's right to give up on him at the age of 23. I know there hasn't been much development shown and people are frustrated. I totally understand that. There's ways to work around this and keep him within the organization. But it doesn't happen overnight, and that's the difference. His skill set is so high. And that's the frustrating thing because we all see it. Everyone who's a fan of basketball understands, wow, this kid is so gifted. He can really pass. He can really move. Downhill, he's phenomenal. But the flaw, the big-time flaw, it's hurting the basketball team. So it's hard for us to comprehend. And it is because think about it. Me, right? Me. I go outside. I want to play basketball. What do? I shoot the basketball. I shoot the ball. I don't know what he did growing up. Did he not shoot the basketball? Would he just run downhill and then pass it to the outside and then he'll go run and get the ball? Right? Like, oh, it's a very frustrating thing, but it's intriguing to me. I'm intrigued by this. It's a fascinating story. We can never have everything perfect here. That's just how it is. Markelle Fultz's injury, Ben Simmons, the Phillies collapse, the wide receivers in the Eagles organization right now. Nothing's ever pretty. Having 9 goaltenders, 8 I believe actually, 8 goaltenders last year for the Flyers. It's always something. It's always something. And for this right now, it's Ben Simmons and his inability to shoot. But not only that, I think the fan base is frustrated. And Joel Embiid because of the hype coming into this season. And it was a different type of hype. We've heard hype in the past where you see a couple videos or whatever the case may be. But this, the form changed. It was in 5-on-5 play against NBA players in the offseason. You can see a little bit of difference in the confidence and the mid-range game that he was showing. It wasn't just an open gym at practice. These were more game-like atmospheres. You saw an obnoxious amount of them. You hear his tone when he's talking to the media about how if I'm open, I'm going to shoot it, and I found the love for the game again. Well, I think the pressure and the fan base is now maybe putting him right back in the whatever mental spot he was in last time, and he just closes down. I think that might be it, but there's a way to dig people out of that, and the Sixers need to find a way to dig him out of that because he has too much potential. The ceiling is obnoxious for this guy, and he can be one of the best if he just focuses on finding a way. And I think maybe some pick and roll options can help. So if they do a little pick and then he has a 10-footer, 12-footer, teams are going to sag off. Now, the one last thing I want to bring up, I know a lot of fans say this, just shoot them. You don't need to make them. Once you start shooting them, teams will respect that. That's flawed because here's the thing. If he's shooting 10% from the mid-range game, 15%, teams are going to play the number game any day of the week. They're going to allow Ben Simmons to take that. And this is also a point. If you're down 10 points, it's the third quarter, are you going to be satisfied with Ben Simmons taking a 15-footer and missing, and missing badly, and then the team goes down and knocks a 3 on the other end? Are you okay saying, well, at least he's taking it? That's the counter argument. You won't be happy. You'll be pissed off, and then you'll start screaming to fire Brett Brown, and this guy needs to get traded, that guy needs to get traded. There needs to be a happy medium here. And there needs to be the right time to do it. But at the same point, if he's to do it in a 30-point blowout against the Cleveland Cavaliers and he hits one mid-range jumper, sure, it feels a little bit better because at least you saw it, but what would that do in a tied game in the fourth quarter? I just need to support my statement of it's okay to be frustrated with him and upset with him and discuss his flaws and how he can fix it without screaming for a trade package. It comes down to finding a way, organizationally finding a way to change what is happening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.